Hi, my name is Kelvin So. So I grew up around here. I'm a Katong boy. I lived with my grandparents, and my grandparents were very productive. They had 6 boys and 6 girls, so it was a small house but with a lot of people. So I grew up loving food and looking at food from my grandmother's perspective. We weren't very rich, so she would make whatever she had as tasty as possible. And you learn all the little bit of the tricks, but also understand that the humblest of ingredients has great flavor. So one of the things about living in such a large household is we had to eat dinner in 2 settings. There were 14 of us, so there were 2 seatings, almost like a restaurant. And there was no like you sit at the table and they go, hey, how was your day? Did you have a good time? What did you learn? There was none of that, because the more you talk, the less food there was on the table. So we just ate as quickly as we could, got up, next seating came in. So I thought, in memory of her, I'd like to do a dish that she used to cook for us as well. It's her, when we had chicken, she'll do various versions, but one of my favorite was the way she did the chicken rice. But maybe now I like to apply a little bit of a spin on it, a little bit of a presentation that may be slightly different, and hopefully also a bit quicker to prepare as well. Okay. Now before I start, I'd like to take you upstairs because we've taken over the roof. Fantastic Hawaiian cherry tomatoes. Look, that's as big as they grow. We've left this chili that's a bit dried, but the flavor is a bit more intense when it's dry. So let me show you what vegetables we have. We have this is edamame, this is eggplant, these are spinach, different types of spinach. This is kangkong, that is kailan. Look at how wonderful the kailan is growing, right? And over here, they need a bit of water, but you can tell that's bitter gourd and long beans. You can see the little beans here. So we have limes. We've managed to grow arugula. It's very strong at the moment because it's under the hot sun, so it's a lot more intense. Has a nutty, peppery flavor, and then with a very strong wasabi kind of aftertaste. So it's good when you need a little bit of natural kick. So all these are organically grown. Sometimes I get the sugar cane from the sugar cane shop stalls, and we use it, as well as the coffee from the leftover coffee grounds, and we use it for our fertilizer. So this is our rooftop garden. We grow maybe 30% of our vegetable needs, and we share it with the neighbors who live with us. So the rice is important. We're going to make the chicken rice first. I've only washed it once because I want the residual kind of rice flour around it. Because if we're going to make chicken rice sushi, I want the rice to be sticky enough to hold on. Now, we made the chicken stock beforehand. It's just chicken carcass. We've added some coriander root. You can see coriander root here, chicken carcass, onions, and our bay leaf that we have outside, a bay leaf plant. So we're just going to take the top part of the soup, which is quite oily, but that's where a lot of flavor is, and I want the flavor to go into, well, not very oily, it's just carcass, into the rice. So my grandmother used to say, when you make the soup and you want to make the chicken rice, make sure that the soup itself is tasty already before you pour the chicken. If not, the chicken will not be tasty. So that's about it. So I'm adding some of these the pandan leaf that we grow on our balcony, just to add a little bit more flavor to the chicken rice. So for this recipe, we only need one side of a chicken breast. We don't need all of it, okay? So it's very simple. Go through the middle. Okay, and that's half. We only need this part, right? Cut through. So what we're going to do now is slightly poach this chicken in the soup, okay? So always keep an eye on the rice, because the way we're doing the rice is almost like a risotto. We just add a little bit of soup stock each time when it kind of looks like it's drying out, because we just want it to be moist. And then at the end, when it's like almost 4/5 done, all we have to do is just cover it and let the residual heat cook the rice through. Then it'll just be nice, slightly al dente, and hopefully firm enough to hold its shape, because I'm using jasmine rice. I'm not using any of I'm not using the Italian rice or the Japanese rice. Okay, so the chicken is ready. We need to get it out. It's been poaching for, actually it's longer. I poached it for about 8 minutes. And one way to know whether, you know, I use this agak-agak. You know, my grandmother also taught me, say you press, right? It's quite pliant but firm. It's cooked already. The other way is you poke through and the juices run through clear, but there are no bones in this particular case. So now, to stop the cooking process, we put it in a water bath. And that's it. We let it rest. In the meantime, you can see the rice is already cooked through. It's steamed now. And always try. Firm, slightly al dente, but still sticky enough that it can hold itself. Taken with cucumbers because it's very cool. So one of the things my grandmother taught me is always cut the ends off and then rub it so that it's not bitter. So how we're doing it is we're going to take slivers of this and we put it in an ice bath with the rest of our vegetables just to keep it nice and cool. Slice versions, so we just want a nice pattern diagonal. Okay, so we're almost ready. We just need to now figure out how to plate it out. In my head, I'm thinking about it. But now we also need to make a simple sauce for the chicken, like sort of a gravy. So again, go back to some of the shallots and the shallot, garlic and lemongrass, all that you have. Add a little bit of that. Add a little bit of good quality oyster sauce, just a little bit, like maybe that's a teaspoon and a half. Okay. This soy sauce is slightly sweet, done old school. It's from Taiping, Ipoh, and it's actually from non-GMO soybeans. If you know, 99% of soybeans are GMO. So this is again teaspoon and a half, right? It's slightly sweet, very nice old flavor, and there's just a little drop of this. This comes from a Singapore soy sauce company. They still make it the old way. They ferment it naturally. They don't use any preservatives. If we have the luxury of doing that, and it's a really old company that we have here, we should preserve that. Okay, just a little bit because it's extremely thick, but it has this nice caramelly flavor. It's not actually very salty at all, but it's just got this nice mouthfeel, and just a little bit of rice wine, Japanese rice wine, so it's sweet. Then what we do is we take a little bit of the soup that we have, okay, mix it in, and that's it. that becomes a little bit of the glaze that you use. For the chicken as you plate. Okay, now always taste. Fantastic. Okay, awesome. Now let's try to plate. I'm making a little ginger. So just scrape a little ginger on this, right? And spring onion, very traditional, because this is for my son, and he doesn't like it too spicy. Okay. Now, always hold whatever you're cutting this way so that it doesn't cut. The knife just goes over the edge. It doesn't cut your finger. That was again something that I learned from my grandmother, because she would use a big cleaver, and that can chop off fingers. Okay, so that's it. Now with this, what we do is we mix it together with the ginger in a bowl, right? We'll add a little bit of salt, a little bit of, again, the soup stock, and a little bit of sesame seed oil, and mix it together with just a touch of salt, and that's it. This is for the chicken itself. Okay, so ginger, what we scraped through, a little thumbful, and then spring onion. I quite like the stems, but people may prefer the shoots. That's entirely up to you, right? And then again, go back to the soup stock. Maybe a teaspoon, a tablespoonful. Okay. Sesame seed oil. A teaspoonful. And a pinch of salt. So I'm using Himalayan sea salt. You can get it for quite a good price at Mustafa. Take your little spoon and stir it. So this chicken breast is quite thick, but it's been cooked through, poached, gently poached, and then put in the water bath. So what I like to do is cut this in half. You can see it's nicely cooked through but tender. Okay. Now slice it bite-sized chunks. I like to triangulate it. Okay, so that's one chunk. Now it will have absorbed some of the flavor of the soup stock, but given that I'm just using the breast and I'm shortcutting it, it doesn't have as much flavor yet. So what I'll do is I'll put this in the sauce that we made earlier. Let it soak in a bit. Okay, and I'll do the same with this. This batch over here. So let it soak in the flavors a bit, and you can prepare the plate. Okay, so never done this before, never done this version, so let's hope it works. I mean, it's worth a try. The recipe and all remains the same, but